What I'd like to do is introduce you to two different passages of text. A few years ago, I visited India. When I arrived in Mumbai, I was walking the streets and I noticed that there was a bunch of guys who were giving men shaves on the side of the street. And I had always shaved my own head. As you can see, I shave my head every day. And I do it in the shower by myself. And so I had never had someone do it for me. So I thought to myself, it would be awesome to actually get a shave. So I went up to a guy who had an empty seat and I asked him if he could shave my head and my face. And he, of course, said yes. So I sat down. He gave me a shave. He gave me a couple of nicks, but otherwise it went all right. And then he wiped my head off with his towel. I paid him, and then later in the day, I went to inspect my shave to see if it was a nice close shave like I had wanted. But rather than notice how close my shave was, I noticed something different. There were little whiskers about 1 centimeter long each that were all over my head. And I thought to myself, I shave every day. So my hair never gets that long. And my hair hadn't been 1 centimeter long in years. And then I realized those weren't my whiskers. When the guy had wiped my head off with the towel, he had wiped it off while there was still other men's hair on the towel. And that was one of the grossest things I had ever experienced. Because who knows what those guys were doing with their own hair that now it was on my head. So after that experience, I realized that I would never get my head shaved by another person while in India ever again. One time I had my head shaved in India. Okay, so what is the difference between passage number 1 and passage number 2? Passage number 2 is just me saying that I had my head shaved. That's all I did. I just said that that happened. But passage number 1 was an actual story, right? So each of us has done many things in our lives. We've had all sorts of experiences from the moment we were born to right now, the moment that you're watching this video, right? What is it that makes some of those things worthy of telling a story about it and some things not? As you look at passage number 1 and passage number 2, clearly there's one big difference between the two, and that, of course, is length. Passage number 1 is way longer than passage number 2. But I could just say a bunch of sentences together that would be just as long as passage number 1, and it doesn't necessarily mean it would be a good story. So there are other things that make a story what it is, like having a setting, using lots of detail, having a series of events. While those are all things that happen or are important in a story, there's something else that ultimately makes the difference between something that happened in our life that becomes a story and something that did not. And that is the willingness to do whatever it takes to share the experience we've had in a way that's of value to others. Everything from the most epic, life-altering saga of some pivotal moment in our life to the most seemingly mundane incident that we just experienced for a moment has the potential to be a great story. And here's the reason why. The size of a story, the value of a story, is not in its subject, but in its execution. If we execute a story well, that means that other people will enjoy it. It doesn't have to be the most life-changing experience. It doesn't have to be the most epic saga. It just needs to be something that is told well. In this course, we will explore some of the main ingredients for what makes a great story. And by the end of it, you will have told your own story about something that happened in your life, so that you're not just simply saying some sentence about something that happened, but you're actually sharing a story that's of value to those with whom you share it.